What's up, YouTube? It's your boy, Prince Vince, aka the Truth Terrorist. And I'm here to talk about the 10th year since this whole gender war thing is coming up on a decade, where black people have been online discussing these issues. Might as well do a video about it. So this is a 10th year anniversary, not so much anniversary, a sad anniversary of the YouTube gender war. And we're going to talk about, a real true analysis of black men, women, and the gender war. I will say this right here. Of most black men who constantly listen to gender-orientated videos, more than likely most of these men constituted the unselected 70% or so of black men. You have about a 10% highly selected, about another 20% who catch on to the 10% swag, so to speak, and then a 70% who kind of just casually date along and pick up a little chick here and there. And this 70% in its frustration will head to the internet to often find out why it is maybe they don't get too many women and they run into women, black women online. Now, the women that they run into online are often coming from a totally different angle. If you ask me, I will say that most of these women are women who've been chewed up and spit out by the top 10% of alpha males, along with the other 20% of players who pick up on the ways of the alpha, so to speak. And what's kind of funny is that these women, in their anger and in their frustration, turn toward the 70% of men and blame them for what the 10, 20, 30% or so of black men have done to them. I'll roughly say that it's really about 10%. It's really more like 10 and 10. 10% of alphas and about 10 and another 10% or so who pick up on the ways of the alpha. So black women are coming online to talk to the 70 to 80% of men who they don't even select in the first place to be with. And the only thing these men end up doing is putting a bunch of memes in their faces that show some geeky black Steve Urkel looking dude with flowers in his hand and a book bag on his back being turned down by some big booty hood rats. And you see another guy with his pants sagging, a bunch of tattoos and some big arms, looking like he just got out of jail last week and all the women chasing him. Well, that guy never comes online. Most black people look at videos in this particular order of importance. I'll say it like this, in no particular order of importance. Number one, the top 3 or 4 things black folk look at online. Number one, random dumb shit. People doing silly dances and rap routines, and people running down the street and falling and standing up on the bar dancing, with some 1980s Bozo the Clown outfit combined with a Prince bottom with their butt out, just trying to do a vine or get some attention. Niggas sit around all day looking at that stuff. Then the second biggest thing they watch is fight videos. Niggas trying to rip each other head out. Black women pulling each other weave out and brothers pushing on each other and fighting all in the Waffle House and fighting all on the subway and fighting all on the city bus and fighting all in the store and, it's fights all over the place. And then I'll say the third biggest thing that niggas look at is probably rap videos and hip hop videos and R&B and old school videos. Most black people don't look at conscious stuff online. Conscious community stuff online. So these niggas who they date, they don't look at no conscious shit online. Most black women don't give a flying shit about conscious issues. That's part of the reason why consciousness has to be separate from gender issues, because the only thing that a woman for the most part is gonna bring to consciousness is her relationship bullshit, because she was never conscious or very conscious in the first place. It was her anger at being chewed up by some alpha male that even led her to the internet to even speak about relationship issues. And then it just so happened that she ran into the Hebrew Israelites and the Hotep niggas and the red, black, and green dudes and everybody else. Most women don't give a flying damn about consciousness. So when you look at the gender war, it's these women, and what they do is then they try to turn around and attribute the black men, the children out there who are abandoned, the first thing that women try to do is try to say, well, by default of the woman being by herself with a child, that means that she was left. It doesn't mean that she was abandoned with a child just because she's with a child and she's by herself. Sometimes women literally choose to be they just choose to be single mothers, and many women nowadays actually don't give a shit if the man who got her pregnant chooses to stay in her life or not. But I would say about 10, 15 years ago, you just had a mad, and still today to a large extent, you just have a mad scramble of a bunch of women toward a relatively small percentage of guys who are big, buff, strong, masculine, bearded, and tatted up the way that they like. And it's these guys who have 3, 4, and 5 children because clearly he's got the option. Most dudes online in these comment sections are kind of looking around at each other like, who the fuck are you talking about? When you talking about black men who got all these options, or black men who are taking advantage of the fact that there's 2 million more women than men. There's some black men who, they look ridiculous because they can't get a girlfriend in a community that has 2 million more women than men. So they're not the ones taking advantage of the fact that there's 2 million more women than men. But you're talking to them like they're the ones. They're not the ones. And all you gotta do is listen to some of these women. Cynthia G one time said that she's been on like 4 out of the last 5 dates. She's had to pay for those dates. No real man lets a woman, even if you let her pay, at the very least, the first time you pay for it. No real man goes out on a date with no money in his pocket unless he got many more options besides you, and he really ain't worried about you that much. So the very second she said she been on the 4 out the last 5 days she been on has been dates where she had to reach down in her pocket. That right there let me know what type of dudes you messing with, because there's dudes out there who just like me wouldn't even think about leaving the house with no money in their pocket. That's just clearly somebody you giving a whole bunch of options to, sweetie. But then they come online and try to blame you for the fact that they don't have a baby daddy. And then start trying to say, well, black men need to mentor. Black men don't need to mentor a goddamn thing. Number one, these children are raised by single mothers. They're masculine, but at the same time emotional. That's a very dangerous character trait to be around. These boys are very dangerous to deal with. You'd have to just about beat half of them halfway to death just to get them to talk and listen. They be just like their matriarchal mama. Ain't nobody telling me what to do. You know what I'm saying? I see them get fired from work all the time. Come to work with, a little girlfriend. Him and her got 2 kids, and, as soon as somebody say something to him, he gets fired because he ain't listening to nobody. Where the hell did he get that from? And black men never gathered anywhere collectively in history and said, let's abandon our children. The simple matter is that a culture of abortion, child support courts, and all that type of stuff, that type of stuff is done to undermine the entire forming of a family, the entire fabric of a family-orientated culture. Abortion pills and child support court and all that stuff, it undermines the fabric of a family. You can't have those things plus healthy families in a society. As a matter of fact, the existence of those things indicate exactly what it is the people who put them in place plan on doing to you. They plan on destroying your families. But most women online are basically what you can refer to as alpha male refugees. You know what I'm saying? Or alpha male cap casualties, alpha male soft targets, alpha male collateral damage. And they heading online to talk to random brothers about the issues that they've experienced. They project the dating experience with their alpha males onto random other brothers who haven't exactly been that extremely preferred man. He's had some women in life, but he hasn't had them like your baby daddy. Your baby daddy having so many hoes, and these men out here having so many hoes, that's something that doesn't apply to the majority of black men. The majority of black men don't look like no model. They don't look like Boris Kodjoe or Idris Elba or, Tyson Beckford or Rob Evans, that guy who be on America's Next Top Model with Tyra Banks. They don't look like that. The average Joe is just an average looking dude. He's probably a 5 or 6, 9 or 8, 9 or 10. So the issues that you've had with those men, you come online to project them at the 70% or so. Because, and then, all you gotta do is just look at their response. He'll basically explain to you that he's an unselected male who's been looked over for a very long time, and that he doesn't want to be there after you finish getting dogged out and having 2 and 3 children by a bunch of no good dusty dudes just because you thought they was masculine and they had enough dick for your big woe-eyed pussy. That is the gender war in a nutshell, and that's the reason the gender war even exists. Most women, even women who try to say or pretend to be conscious, are really feminists. Most women don't give a flying damn, because I've been around many of these women who call themselves goddess. Most of them don't care to discuss the issues of the black community. Their entire focus is on sex and relationships, but mainly just sex. And most of these women are in their 30s, their late 30s and 40s and 50s. At the age that women start to wonder about, is she still sexy, and she starts to lose, she's a bit over the hill. So they jump toward the goddess, the sexual goddess movement, and they go from there. And they rarely talk about conscious or social issues. It's usually sex and men and sex, They'll talk about a little bit of life and the womb and babies and all that, but it's usually 70-80% of what they want to discuss is sex, not conscious issues. And most women in the so-called conscious community were brought there not by the desire to discuss social, political issues or change the condition of black people, but just to discuss relationships. I mean, if you look at the thinly veiled prostitution that black women are engaging in on Instagram, the gang members that are posting up videos holding guns and showing themselves doing drugs, and they have all type of drug money laid out, and the videos of women twerking their butt cheeks, sometime in front of children, and even encouraging their children to twerk. None of these conscious women ever even go to these channels and condemn these channels and condemn these actions hardly. They will maybe in a Facebook post, but they'll never make issues exactly talking about, this ratchetry in the black community, this world star hip hop material. But they will head to your channel to address you and tell you that that the base behavior that leads to much of what you see on Instagram and Twitter and World Star Hip Hop and gangsters on YouTube, when you address the base issues that cause all of that, then she wants to stop you, which makes her no more than a guardian of the matriarchy. Because anytime you can get 70-something people killed in Chicago and dozens of people killed every week in Detroit, and the horrendous conditions in Baltimore with 60 and 70 people being shot per month, and nobody says anything about it, even if it's little babies, 5-month-olds and 2-year-old babies being killed. None of these women ever address anything or never say nothing about that, but she will come to your channel to address you, because something that is a sacrifice of the existence of matriarchy is that matriarchy has to allow a certain amount of bloodshed. As a matter of fact, it has to allow a massive amount of bloodshed, because the only way you're going to address and deal with that bloodshed is to dismantle that matriarchy. So this is why you don't hear black feminists even address crime and violence in the community, because they'll have to dismantle that matriarchy. It's just that plain and simple. And they don't mention anything about these dudes. They just address you, the person who addresses this culture. Because the only way that you're going to change the relationship that any black man has with a woman is to address the culture. Remove everything that a woman may rely on to fuck with a goon-ass thug, and leave her nothing but that plain and simple human relationship between him and her. And she'll determine that he is a deadbeat before she even lets him lay with her, and she won't fuck with him in the first place. But anyway, that's my analysis of the gender war after 10 years. It's really the internet echo chamber. It's a bunch of alpha male collateral damage running to a bunch of unselected males, and complaining about their relationship issues with these unselected males. And these unselected males are just going to pretty much let you know that you didn't select him, so he is not responsible for whatever happened to you and your alpha male baby daddy. You knew he had 2 and 3 children already, so that's up to you and him. Nobody is going to mentor your children, help you take care of them, or give you any answers as to why your baby daddy, your alpha male, chooses to put his dick and 5 and 6 different women who more than happily spread their legs to him. That's the issue between you and him. And it's your boy Vince Rashad, aka the Truth Terrorist, a critical analysis of the gender war, 10 years into it. I'm up out of here, man. Holla.